Hey, this your man Tony Wiggins here with another edition of Locked On Jaguars. The Jaguars have a big "Who Are You" game that they'll play this Sunday against the Colts. I'll explain what a "Who Are You" game is, and I'll do it in just a second here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is happening, good people? Thank you for joining us again on Locked On Jaguars and making us your first listen every single day, because it's your team every day, and this is what we do. We deliver daily content here on the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On Jaguars, and it's free on all platforms. You can check it out. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and subscribe and view on YouTube as well. Jaguars are still coming off of a victory, and I'm really, really proud of the way I've heard them responding and the way that they're talking. And what I mean by that is it's almost as if they expected it. You know, everyone looks at it as a big surprise. I'm finally hearing some love on the national networks about how Jacksonville beat Buffalo. We're going to tie that into the show later on as well. But this week they play the Colts. They go on the road to play the Colts. Now, when you reflect on the Buffalo game, going into the game against the Bills, it was all about the Bills defense, Josh Allen stopping those wide receivers, because the Jacksonville Jaguars had not been able to stop receivers all game. And now you later find out that what Joe Cullen and the crew thought going into the game was that if you just beat up on Josh Allen, because the Bills didn't have a running back who was a threat. Shout out to the people that says you can find a back anywhere. We'll talk about that too in segment 3. But this game is going to be different. This is the similarities between the last week's game and this game in Indy when they go play the Colts is this. Everyone sort of expected them to not win, right? I think the same thing could be said for this week, with the exception of the Colts can run the ball. And the Colts do want to bully you. And you won't see a game like last week where Devon Hamilton only played, I think, 12 to 15 snaps, because they were really just pinning their ears back, going after Josh Allen. That can't be the case this week. You have to put your beef in the lineup this week against the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm just interested in not just the physical part of the game, the mental approach of this game. And when I say, who are you? Do you still have a chip on your shoulder? Was last week just enough? Are you finally turning the corner? Can you go out and be that competitive again? Or was it just one of those 1 week things, like this is us at our very best, and now we're going to go back to the other stuff, like not being as good every single week and not being consistent? See, the thing that got me this week, results aside, is that the Jaguars actually were detailed. They won those rounds. They landed those body punches that I always talk about. They knew situational football. They got first downs when they needed it. They had so many things that went wrong. The left tackle gets hurt. Cam Robinson gets hurt in the pregame. Trevor goes out with what looks like a devastating injury. They had every single scenario you can imagine where they could have hang their heads, but they didn't do it. And in the past, those are things that they just didn't have figured out. So can we get spoiled and think that the incompetence is over? Can we get spoiled to think that the lack of situational football and the lack of details and the lack of preparedness is over? That's going to be the key for me. The key is, who are you? Are you really the team that is ready to move on and move forward and put your best foot forward every single week? And did the game the other day really change your identity? Or was it just an anomaly? Was it just a 1 week thing? And there's some things now that you can look at to determine this weekend. You're going to be able to determine if it was just a fork in the road moment. Was it like this is the start of a new journey, or was it just the emotion and just the right matchup and the right time and the chance to do things a certain way. So this is a real big test for Jacksonville coming up against the Colts. And they'll have to contend with a little bit of a different attack when they're on defense. Offensively, the Colts provide when the Jaguars have the ball on offense, I mean, the Colts can run and can fly to the ball. Very similar to the Bills, but a little bit different. I think Buffalo's secondary is better than the one in Indy, but I do think Indy still has some advantages in their front seven, especially with their linebacking core. They rely a little bit more on speed than size, the way Buffalo did. So it's going to be imperative that the offensive line plays well again this week and keeps Trevor off of his back. So speaking of Trevor, we talked about when the Jaguars got, the first pick and everyone knew that Trevor Lawrence was going to be the target. And there was this talk, like, you can't mess this up. Just get Trevor and get out of the way. And now we're starting to see around the league that that's not true. So I'm going to segue this into segment 2, where this ain't that I told you so, but this is, now do you guys see? Because what we do, we share information here. So it's not, there's no gotcha moments, or, every now and then I'll jokingly boast that I told you something. But now we collectively see why it's more important, why it's just as important to build things around Trevor Lawrence the way that you should. They won 2 games, and Trevor hasn't been at his best in those games, right? They haven't been at 100%. They weren't at 100% the other day, and quarterback play really have anything to do with them winning. He just didn't make mistakes. But it was all the other things around him. And now when you look at what the team things around Josh Allen the other day. So you look at what's going on in Kansas City. See, we get this little taste of Patrick Mahomes and a little taste of Josh Allen, and then we think, okay, it's just it, give him the ball, surround him with weapons, and let it fly. Because the Chiefs won, but when you really look at the way the Chiefs won, they won the Super Bowl running the football and playing defense with a veteran offensive line too. I think sometimes we get caught up paying attention to so much about all of the tricks that we don't realize. You go back and look at some of those New England Super Bowls that Tom Brady won. Tom Brady didn't throw for 300 yards in some of those games. One game, they only scored 10 points. You can't get caught up so much in the quarterback stuff that you don't pay attention to the things around that quarterback, because the quarterback is extremely important. But more times, your identity and who you are, is what we're talking about today, is going to be determined by who you're allowed to be through your quarterback, and who you're allowed to be is going to be massively affected by all of those things around him. So we're going to discuss some of these things around Trevor Lawrence and some of the parts around Trevor Lawrence in the second segment here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Jaguars. But I got to tell you first, man, about Built Bar. That's right. Built Bar is the absolute truth. Thanksgiving is coming up, and I know a lot of you guys are going to refrain from eating some of those sweets, all that cake. I can't stand cake, by the way, but all of that cake piled up with all of this dressed like, what do they call it? Icing. See, I don't even like it. All of this icing and all of this stuff piled up all over. Man, listen, if you don't want to eat all of that stuff, you need to eat something that's healthy, and you need to get a Built Bar. That's right. Built Bar is healthy. Built Bar is good for you. The macros are off the chain because they have very little calories, very little sugar, very little carb, but they taste great. And if you want chocolate, you don't have to eat icing on the cake, because Built Bar is covered with 100% chocolate. That's right. So here's what you do. You go to built.com rather, and use the promo code at built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15, and you're going to get 15% off of your order. I'm going to say it again. The promo code is LOCK15, and you're going to get 15% off your order at built.com. Now, if you need a suggestion, if you've heard this show, I'm going to tell you right now, the flavor that you ought to try, salted caramel. That's right. That is my favorite one. And for more information on the latest news and any holiday Built Bar surprises, check them out on social media, on Twitter at @bar_built. It's Built Bar at built.com. Lock15 is your promo code for 15% off. Okay, man, we're going to move along here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On NFL. I don't have my protector, my popper protector. I hope that pee and me sucking my teeth didn't burst your eardrums. But we're talking about who you are, the identity of the football team. You know, there were a bunch of people, man, that when they got Trevor Lawrence, said, just get Trevor and get out of the way and just don't screw this up. Like, you know, they think you get Trevor and the monkey could be the GM and the coach. Just surround it with guys who are fast and just get out of the way. And too many times, and you know, that's all emotion and people just talking. But football doesn't work that way. You know, you need to surround and you need to support and you need to build properly around that young man. Right now, the Jaguars' identity, let me tell you who I think they are. They're a team with an up-and-coming young quarterback who he has a lot of things that he needs to work on with his accuracy and all of that. But they need to continue to surround him with some more weapons. They need to continue to develop their identity of who they are, because right now, this is what I see in Jacksonville. I see a team that whose best player on offense is a running back. And I know people out there, the whole running back, the anti-running back crew is what I'm going to call them. They don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. The best football player on this team is James Robinson. We'll talk a little bit more about James Robinson in segment 3, but the best player on this team is James Robinson. And right now, you have to be able to build around the fact that you have a good quarterback and you have a good running back. I'm going to tell you something about play action that I think it was Tyler Rowland of Tic Tac Titans and Locked On Titans. I think Tyler Rowland mentioned to me that success in the running game is not real play action to work. Something like that, he said. And I was like, are you crazy? And he's like, no, really. He said, you know, there's data that shows that what allows play action to work is throwing when they think you're going to run. So, you know, it's situational. The data proves that situational is like when they think you're going to run, what makes it work is it's not that people go they try to sell out so bad to stop the run because the run is so devastating. No, it's situational stuff. And now this is he didn't say this part, but this is where I kind of take what he mentioned, and I kind of put my own thought process into it, because the data, he was right. You know, it shows that what makes play action work is that you're tricking people into thinking you're running. So you think there's a connection between the two, maybe, and there are. And this is what I'm talking about: James Robinson and Trevor Lawrence and the dynamic between the two. We think that sometimes that play action works because, oh, I got to stop him. I got to stop Derrick Henry. He's wearing us out. Oh, you caught me slipping. So now this thing is open. But more importantly, what it is it's trying to control the ebb and flow of the game, and looking at a team's tendencies and a team, okay, they always run in this situation. So I have certain personnel in the game. When I'm suited to stop the run, all of a sudden now here comes the pass. You got me? So it's not like the thinking isn't so much as, well, he's killing me. As much as it is, well, this is what they usually do in this situation, and then you catch them slipping. Y'all understand? Y'all following what I'm saying? Sometimes it can go hand in hand because he's so good at it. Maybe the running back's so good, you really, really load up to try to stop him. And see, that's what happened the other night. I'm going to give you a perfect example. That's why the Titans mollywopped the Rams the other night. Derrick Henry isn't there, right? Oh, they're just going to throw it. They're going to throw it. And you know what? They did. But the success in the passing game wasn't because Derrick Henry was there, because Derrick Henry wasn't there. It's the chess match between these coaches trying to figure out what to do. So the Jaguar game the other day, they had zero fear of the running game, right? Zero fear of the running game. And they sold out to beat up and bang on Josh Allen. Teams that play Jacksonville don't have that luxury. You better fear the running game, because here's what goes into that running game that I'm talking about, and the situational stuff that I'm talking about. And it's not like you just sitting here just scared of James Robinson. What you're afraid of is a team constantly being in 2nd and 3. You let a guy get 7 yards on that first catch. That is an absolute nightmare scenario. See, so if it's first down and we know a team has certain tendencies on first down, if they get 10 yards on a carry, as a fan, I'll go like, man, come on, man, you got to stop. You can't let them get 10 yards. But I'm also looking at it like the offense gets a new set of downs. But now the defense gets a new opportunity to put them in second and long, whether it be because of a pre-snap penalty, whether it's because of a holding call, whether it's because of them trying to run it again and you're stuffing them 4 yards, or it was a sack, whatever. Because the beginning of the end for an offense being successful is second and long, the down and distance situations. Now here comes the sub package. So what happens is on first down, if a running back gets 10 yards, all you've done is just start over. You started your clock over. On 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3, you have no clue what they're about to do. Of course, if you can get 10 yards, you get 10 instead of 7. But my point is the position that teams don't like being in are ones where they cannot dictate what's going to happen based on the whole play. When you hear people say the whole playbook is open on 2nd and 1, they are absolutely right. Nothing gets on my nerves more than on 2nd and 1, you run the ball and the dude gets a yard and a half and you get the first down. You had a golden opportunity on 2nd and 1 to do anything you wanted to do, and the only thing you had interest in was getting that 1 yard. You helped them out, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's why I have James Trevor to put him in these situations of 2nd and 1, 2nd and 3, and he's mobile. These are the things that's going to help this football team moving forward, and these are the things that are going to help create an identity. This is why Baltimore is so dangerous, because they either run the ball with a running back or Lamar Jackson takes the ball and he'll scramble on a pass play and he'll get 6 or 7 yards, and it's 2nd and 4, and you are at their absolute mercy. I hate it. I don't know about you guys as a fan, but I hate it. So what I want the team that I love and the team that I cover to do, what I want them is to be what I despise. I want my team to be what I hate other teams, to be against us. And that's a 2nd and 3 ball club. 2nd and 3. That's what I'm looking for. I think that's how you start talking about what the identity of this team is. We're going to find out this week if it's going to be consistent from last week. But I want this team to be a 2nd and 3 ball club. So that's it. So I'm going to name this my new identity for what I hope the Jaguars are in the future, for Trevor's sake and for James Robinson's sake. I want them to be a 2nd and 3. I just gave Jaguars an identity. Who are you? 2nd and 3. That's who we are. And if you do that, I guarantee you'll have a championship or 2 here pretty soon. I want to talk about James Robinson, and then I want to talk about Walker Little's big chance. Isn't that nice? I said that. Walker Little's big chance. And then I want to further talk about James Robinson and his value to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we'll do all of that in segment 3 here on a Tuesday on Locked On Jaguars. I want to tell you first about Get Upside. What is Get Upside? Well, I'm going to tell you what. You're going to get up and go outside and save you some gas, some money on gas by listening to this. It is an app that is going crazy, and everyone who buys gas needs to know about this, right? You're going to be able to save and start making up to 25 cents a gallon. Every gallon of gas, heard what I said, 25 cents per gallon that you're going to save every time you fill up on your gasoline. Now, how do you do it? Then you go to your app store or the Google Play, and you get the Get Upside app, right? You put in a promo code. Touchdown is your promo code. Now, your first fill up, you're going to get an additional 25 cents. So that's up to 50 cents cash back. Now, how do you get your money? Well, you get your money stays in your account. All of your cash back, it comes to your account. And then when you're ready to access that, whether it's put it on PayPal accounts or running it to your bank or a gift card through Amazon or e-gift card or whatever, then you just do it. There's no gimmicks, man. I'm telling you. You need to start saving you some money right now. Your first fill up, when you first start, you're going to get 50 cents per gallon off. And then after that, up to 25% per gallon on the rest of your fill ups. No joke, man. So you need to go get the Get Upside app right now and use the promo code touchdown and start taking advantage and start saving you some money on gas. All right, man, running down here on a Tuesday, talking about the identity of this team, who they are, what they'll have a chance to show come a Sunday against Indianapolis. And of course, we'll have more on a crossover edition later on this week with, I think I'm going to talk to Evan Sidery from Locked On Colts. But for right now, we need to really, really understand and get that this team has an opportunity to establish its identity. Sometimes you don't know who you are until you're missing something. And the other day, the Jaguars were missing their best offensive weapon right now in James Robinson. And they still found a way to win the game. Carlos Hyde did a pretty good job. I think he had like 67 yards in relief of James Robinson. I don't think the Bills thought, they were like, who was Carlos Hyde? I'm going to tell you who Carlos Hyde was. Carlos Hyde was a guy who was getting chunks of yards in certain situations against Buffalo and putting Jacksonville in that third and short situation that I keep talking about. James Robinson, though, I think was a little bit devalued. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you right now. No disrespect to Travis Etienne. I do think that this staff underplayed how good James Robinson was, and none of us did that. Everyone here knew that he was good. I think if they could do it over knowing what they know now about James Robinson, they wouldn't have made that draft pick. And I never said I wasn't a fan of the Travis Etienne pick because I said, I know how they're thinking. You can listen to them and tell. I said I know how they're thinking. And when you get a guy who came from college and he saw what that guy did in college, and he rolls out there and James Robinson's lined up at wide receiver in minicamp, and people love explosiveness, man. You love explosive players and you love speed. So it did not surprise me. Urban always had a guy who's fast playing running back. Always. He always had a guy who could take it to the house, and James Robinson isn't a take it to the house guy. So sometimes you can fall in love with certain characteristics and attributes that a player has, and then you don't realize how good that player is. People used to kill me when I said it reminds me of little Walter Payton. And that's because you look at him and there's not one thing or one trait a measurable trait that he has or does that makes you think that he's good, and then he goes out and plays, and then he runs all over people, and he's a hard guy to get down one-on-one, and he's always leaning forward, getting you that extra yards. He finds that little crease, crack, and it's stuff that it's instinctive stuff. It's just stuff. Emmitt Smith had that. I do think that his value, he's been undervalued a lot by people. But like I said, most of that is the anti-running back crowd. And when I say anti-running back, they don't hate running backs, but there are people out there that just believe you can find them anywhere. So, and you might be able to. But we just played a team Sunday that needs a running back, right? And they're supposedly a Super Bowl contender, and they ain't got nobody running the ball. Nobody's scared of them, to the point where the Jaguars did what they did. The Rams, another team, ain't nobody scared of them in their running back situation, right? Some teams identify great runners better than others. And those teams that don't identify runners need to pick them earlier than they need to. And I know with the Rams, Cam Akers is hurt. But some teams there are teams that need to use second-round picks like the Rams on a running back. You know why? They need to use them because they have a hard time identifying them late. And some teams fail even when they pick them early. And if you can't pick them early, you damn sure can't pick them late because you don't have guys that fit into your system. But then there are other teams that have that don't know how to utilize them once they get them. So when you're evaluating a running back situation, everything isn't even. It's not always apples to apples. But James Robinson's value to this team. Now I know people are saying we just won without him. If he was there, they would have blown Buffalo out. If James Robinson had played, they would have absolutely blown Buffalo out because I think he would have gotten to the end zone a couple of times or extended drives. And maybe opened up a little bit more the passing game because they would have had a little bit more respect for who was in the backfield. So, yeah. Also want to talk about Walker Little. See, all of these things all of these players that I mentioned here, especially in this segment, is going to determine who the Jaguars are. Walker Little showed up, man. Showed up. Didn't look good early. Got beat by Mario on a sack, and then got pushed into Trevor Lawrence. After he seemed to go get himself greased up a little bit, I didn't hear his name called. Why is that important? Because there's some tough decisions down the line that this team's going to have to make. Is Walker Little better than Cam Robinson right now? Absolutely not. That's not the decision. The decision is are you going to pay Cam Robinson franchise money again or sign him to a long-term deal when you have Walker Little? And then what do you do about Juwan Taylor? These are the team building things. These are good problems because now I think what you're doing is you're having to make decisions by guys. You're making decisions about guys that you think can play as opposed to trying to figure out where you're going to find who can. These are all good things. But Walker Little, I call it Walker Little's big chance. He's going to have it again at some point. And then at some point, you're going to wonder if the Jaguars are going to say, okay, let's see if it's for real. Let's see what it is. Let's see. The guy had 2 years off and he probably needed to, get some more lower body strength. And then he probably needed to get back into the groove. Well, you just think Jamar Chase had 1 year off and then he forgot how to catch the ball. And now all of a sudden he's catching the ball again. So this is close contact, hand to hand against some of the biggest, most ferocious guys you can imagine. And Walker Little's just probably getting his feet wet again. Team building, man. That's what it is. That's what it is. And we're a team right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can check out the Peacock and Williamson podcast. Brian Peacock is an NFL analyst, and Matt Williamson is a former NFL scout, and they know what they are talking about, man. They put a podcast together that you guys need to subscribe to and make your second listen. Because Locked On Jaguars is, of course, your first listen every day. That could be your second listen every day. So we'll have more tomorrow, man. We'll have more as we try to figure out who the Jaguars are. I know, after a win, we're all still happy. I'm happy for the fans, happy for the players that have worked really, really hard to get to this point. And now I think they're putting in a lot of work. So a win would be nice going to Indy this week, but just to play at a very high level and show that you're still on that track to get better and improve. That'll do for most Jaguar fans, and I know it'll do for me. It should do for you too. You guys keep taking care of each other, man. It's fall. It's beautiful. Got boots and sweaters on, and some people acting like they're freezing, and it's like 44 degrees in Jacksonville this morning. So you guys continue to take care of each other, man, and try to enjoy and find some happiness and joy with the fact that your Jaguars football team has another chance to go out and show that they are growing towards success. Until tomorrow, this is Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars. Take care.